It's me back with another exciting episode of Will It Run It. I've got this EcoFlow Pro that I just got in. I've charged it. I charged it up completely on solar, and I'm going to see if it will run my air fryer. I'm going to air fry me up a brat. I know this is not the ideal use of a battery, but this thing says it pulls, where does it say it? 1,300 watts. This EcoFlow has it's only a 600 watt continuous, 1,200 watt peak, so it shouldn't do it. But the cool thing that this EcoFlow has is it's got a setting that will let you basically lower the voltage and provide dirty power to keep things running. And in the owner's manual it said it would run some kitchen appliances. I would call this New Wave air fryer a kitchen appliance. I'm gonna put it to test and see if it'll do it. I don't suspect it will, but I gotta know if it will. So how it does it is it lowers the voltage to provide the correct number of amps, but at lower volts. So in other words, it gives it still is only going to output 600 watts, and you only get so much BTUs per watt. So I'm only going to get so much heat, but I got to try it and see if it'll do it. So to make a brat, I preheat my air fryer to 370 degrees, and I generally run them for 13 minutes. I'm going to add a few minutes. Well, actually, I guess I'm just going to preheat it. If it can't even reach the preheat mark, then we'll know. So I plugged it in there. Did it turn on? There we go. Turned on. All right. On preheat. Set this to 370, and it doesn't matter. I'm just going to say 15 minutes. Okay. So it didn't do it. It says overload protection. That's because I need to turn on the XBoost, which is the feature to tell it to provide dirty power. So that's probably good. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't want to use this feature. Okay, that took a bit of messing around, but I finally got it connected. I'm just connected directly to this thing, the EcoFlow, over Wi-Fi. I'm going to turn on XBoost, turn on the inverter. Now let's go on preheat. I'm going to set it to 370 for 13 minutes. Start. Alright. So, the EcoFlow is locking me at 597 watts, which makes sense, because it can only output 600 continuous. And this is trying, it's running, although it is barely moving any air. You can hear that the fan is running. It is barely running. That fan is barely running, and but it is running, and it is trying. The air fryer is not puking or giving up. So I'm gonna let this thing run for a while, and let's see if it ever reaches that temperature. I hope it does, because I'm pretty freaking hungry, and I'd like to eat a brat. So it successfully reached its preheat temperature. It did take a while. It was actually kind of humorous. The cooling fan on the EcoFlow is moving more air than the fan on the back of the air fryer, but when the heating element, it cycles on and off now to keep it at the right temperature. So once it reached its set point, the fan on this actually sped up because the wattage demand reduced. So in other words, the voltage was able to increase. So now I'm on that cycle where it's maintaining the temperature, and it almost pulled 20%. I mean, we're at 82% right now, so it almost took 20% of that battery just to preheat. So now I've got roughly 13 minutes. I'm just going to cook one brat because I don't want to overload this thing. I need to poke a couple holes, stick it in there, and let's see what happens. So what I generally do is I leave it on one side for about half of that amount of time, and I flip it. Before I've forgotten and gotten distracted and not flipped it at all, and the brat came out just fine. But 13 minutes at 370 degrees is my normal temperature. So if I was microwaving, which I'm not going to microwave a raw brat, but let's just say I was microwaving, I would run this thing longer because the amount of wattage actually going into my food is going to be impacted and reduced. However, since I'm air frying it, 370 degrees is 370 degrees. The only negative that I'm getting here is the amount of BTUs I'm able to put in there, but if it's still able to reach 370, I think that's kind of irrelevant. So the other impact is going to be the speed at which that fan, which is moving the air around inside that air fryer, can run. It's definitely at a reduced speed, so I still don't think that's really going to matter too much as far as the time goes. So I'm going to give this thing its amount of time. When it's got about 6 or 7 minutes on the timer, I'll flip the Brawt, kind of eyeball it and see what it looks like, and let's see what happens when it's done. What better way to test your electric generator than to potentially undercook some meat and potentially have food poisoning? I mean, I'm going all out here for you guys. Pay attention to this next clip. The heating element isn't currently running on the air fryer, so the fans on the air fryer are getting full voltage. Listen to the change in tone whenever the heating element actually kicks on, and then shortly thereafter the cooling fans on the EcoFlow ramp up. I still have 7 minutes on the clock, but I wanted to point out one thing I really like about this EcoFlow so far is I could do the math and figure out how much more runtime I had, but this just does it for you on the screen. So I still have 71% battery left, and at its current rate of 599 watts, I've got 47 minutes of runtime left. So that kind of helps ease me a little bit, because I know that I need 7 more minutes to finish my Brawt, and I've got 47, so I know I'm good. Okay, 5 minutes. I just pulled the Brawt out to flip it. If I can get it with my fork there. There we go. It's not looking too bad. It's actually looking pretty decent. Stick it back in there. Let my wattage crank back up there. See, it's spiked at 799. But there we go. We're at 600. I got 5 more minutes left, and I got 46 minutes of battery life. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to the wire. We got 12 seconds left on the clock. If you listen carefully, I don't know if you can hear it. I could hear that thing sizzling in there, so I know it's definitely cooking, at least to some degree. All right, we are done, and we're now pulling 1 watt. We have 60% left on the battery, so that's good information to have. It used 40% of my battery to make this Brawt. The question is it indeed made? Is it completely cooked? And there's nothing like testing out a solar generator than on potentially undercooked meat that could affect my health. So now I'm going to let that thing cool down for a little while, and just like I normally would, you don't bite into a scalding hot Brawt right when it comes out. I'm going to throw some spicy mustard on that thing, let it sit for a minute, and then take a bite and see if it looks like it's thoroughly cooked or if there's any pink in there. Alright, I brought the EcoFlow back into the shop and plugged it into my solar wire. I actually have a solar array on the roof of my office, and I ran some wire down some of this Anderson cable, and then I bought this connector on Amazon to be able to charge this off my solar array. So I've got 2 100-watt panels, and it's pretty ideal conditions outside right now. I'm recharging at 126 watts. Why I do this over plugging it in? Well, it's just to stay true with the whole solar generator type of concept. So this little thing is designed to be charged on solar. I mean, obviously I can charge it on a wall outlet really fast, but why charge it so fast off my grid power when I can be harvesting free energy from the sun if I'm not in a hurry to use it? So this thing says, back to the cool feature about it, it's sucking in 127 watts. I'm at 60%, and it says 3 hours roughly estimated recharge time, given the current watts. Now that could go up if the sun's more bright or whatever, if it's more visible, if I'm getting more energy from the sun. It could go down if a cloud comes in way, or let's say the sun starts setting in less than 3 hours. So all that stuff has to be taken into consideration, but it's nice to know. I mean, this thing's not going to check my weather forecast and know exactly how long it's going to take. So it's nice to know that given its current conditions, what it knows right now with the variables that it has, it's going to take 3 hours to recharge. Here we go. Mike reacts to a solar-powered air-fried Brawt. Take 1. Okay, so it looks pretty well cooked, at least there from the outside. It tastes fine. I've given it plenty of time to cool down. I put spicy mustard on it and I roll it up in a tortilla. I don't know why I do that. It's just easy, I guess. But so here are my final thoughts. It did work. Do I recommend this process? Probably not, unless you have a specific use case. And the reason for that is because, I mean, first of all, I take no responsibility. If you undercook your meat and get sick, that's on you. I'm just simply showing you what's possible. I'm not necessarily saying this is the best or safest way to do it. But mentally, I would think using a microwave is probably a little bit better use of solar energy, at least if you're using power. I mean, cooking this over an open flame is also possible, and that doesn't require an air fryer or electricity. It just requires some fuel source, like wood or something. But it's cool to know that we can do this on the air fryer, but if I'm able to do something like this on a microwave, like reheat something, that seems like a better use of that energy, because all of that energy is going into your food through radiation, whereas this air fryer, a lot of that heat is wasted because I'm heating up that whole basket, and then I'm also venting all of that heat out. If you put your hand behind this air fryer, there's a lot of heat coming out of this thing. So it's cool to know that it's possible. There are better ways to do this, obviously, but you know, the whole reason I do Will It Run It videos is because I want to test the limits and the boundaries of what this stuff can do. I love that EcoFlow gives you the ability to basically say, give me dirty power. You know, a lot of these inverter type devices have that capability, but it's programmed to not do that because they're advertised to give clean power. And most times that's what you want. The average user wants clean power, but then there's some of us who say, I don't really care what kind of power it is. Give me what you got, and I'm going to take it, and don't shut off. Just stay at that range where you can run it 100%. Don't go over it. Don't burn yourself up. But give me what you got, and I'm going to take what you got, and I'm going to run with it. So that's kind of what that XBoost technology, I think, the way I kind of understand it, you know, if I was to explain it to somebody that doesn't really understand how this stuff works, which I'm not an expert either. But so let's say you've got water coming in on a pipe, and you're saying, I need so much of that water, okay? And the person on the other end of the pipe goes, well, I don't have enough water. Well, do you want that person on the other end of the pipe to just stop giving you water and say, sorry, I don't have enough, you're on your own? Or do you want to say, well, then at least give me what you have, you know? And sometimes you want to, you know, another illustration is, let's say someone's swimming from one side of a lake to the other, and he has not enough energy to make it all the way across. The end result is he's dead. He made it halfway, and then he died. Two people that can swim halfway also aren't going to be sufficient because they can't make it the whole way. You need one person that can make it all the way across. And so there are a lot of times where you need that power, and that's what you need. And if you have anything less, you may as well not mess with it, because it's not going to get the job done. But there are instances where, okay, if I get half it, I can make do with that. And so in this case, that's working. So that XBoost gives you, the user, the flexibility to decide if that's how you want to use your power or not. So I'm going to finish this Brawt. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like it. I think my next video is going to be running that microwave on that EcoFlow.